Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Toni Dupree. Now, Toni says it like it is, straight up from the teacup. She is the author that promotes you to take a closer look. To take a closer look, I've lost my place. Okay, to take a closer look inside yourself to get to the tea of the matter. If you desire to have great things come your way, being able to recognize greatness begins with you. Toni speaks to that person, the great person that may be resting in a dormant state, just waiting for you to rise out of mediocrity. As you read, questions may arise, such as, what makes me interesting to others? What am I doing that attracts a particular type of person? Why don't I feel good about a specific situation? That type of self reflection is a key element as it relates to the purpose of Straight Up from the Teacup. Toni lays it all out on the line, all in an effort to. Okay, are we back? Hi, Toni.
Hi.
Hi,
How are
welcome to the show.
you?
Good. Did you hear the introduction?
I did. I heard you
I
read.
think I think the internet is.
Yeah, kind of weird today.
Okay, I'm back. They're
Okay.
having a wedding, and I think they connected with the internet and kind of messed it up. I'm at a really nice country club. They have a recording studio here, but it's not so nice when these things happen. It's beautiful. The wedding's going to happen later tonight. So I
Okay.
think we're good. I'm on a different network. I guess we'll just kind of start over. And
Okay.
all right. So, welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest, Toni Dupree. Now, Toni tells it like it is, which I love. She is really real about it. She has a program called Straight Up from the Teacup. Now, Toni prompts you to take a closer look inside yourself to get to the tea of the matter. If you desire to have great things come your way, being able to recognize greatness begins with you. Toni speaks to that person, the great person that may be resting in a dormant state, just waiting for you to rise out of mediocrity. As you read, questions may arise, such as what makes me interesting to others? What am I doing that attracts a particular type of person? And why don't I feel good about a specific situation? That type of self reflection is a key element as it relates to the purpose of Straight Up from the Teacup. Toni lays it all on the line, all in an effort to ignite the fire in you to begin a dialogue with yourself that will evoke a deeper understanding of yourself. So Toni tells it like it is. Welcome to the show, Toni.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Wonderful. And now this show actually came about with my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And I wrote
Okay.
it right before this crazy pandemic and all these crazy things showed up in our world. And so I'd love to ask if you have a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a difficult situation and how did you get back on track?
So, my business, I'm an etiquette coach and a corporate civility trainer. So, when I started out, it was just etiquette coaching, and it was tough, really tough to break it into any community.
Mm-hmm.
When you are doing something that is about personal development and possibly showing people how they can do it better, it's going to be a little difficult. And in the beginning, I wanted to quit every day, and I even thought that I possibly would quit because it was just that tough. So um, I thought about who my market was, but your market is everybody because everybody deserves to be better, have a better opportunity, learn how to create a better opportunity. So I didn't really have the luxury of carving out a particular community or group of people. So I had to take it piece by piece. So I started with children. I don't know that in the beginning that I wanted to work with adults. It wasn't even a thought. It was just I saw children walking around looking like they didn't belong. Well, children that looked like me, and they just didn't own their spot, and they didn't have the confidence. And I felt like I could do something to make that better. And I kept asking myself, well, who am I to think that I can make this better? You know, like, what am I going to do? Go over to these people and say, hey, you need to sharpen it up. You need to tighten it up. No. So I just started a conversation. And then I started these back to school etiquette camps. And they were just 4 hours on Saturday, like in the summer. And I had breakfast and lunch. And that worked out fine. I was still working full time, and that was fine. That was just that was how I was breaking into it. And then I got my first client, who was a year client. I worked with her for a whole year, and all of everything that happened in this business wasn't really how I saw it working out. And then I went back to working with schools. And then it was working with adults, like small, different groups of people. And then it was speaking on certain subjects. And then someone said, actually, someone from John Maxwell called me
Mhm.
and asked me, had I written a book? And I said, no, I have no desire to write a book. I wasn't thinking about writing a book. And he was like, I really think that that's really the only thing you need to add is a book. And I was like, oh, I really don't want to. And then I kept meeting people, and it stopped. And so I wasn't worried about writing a book. And then to fast forward, my mother passed away, and I exhausted my savings for her medical, and I lost a lot of stuff. My house, I went through a divorce, I broke my ankle, I got laid off from my job. I mean, I was the female version of Job.
Yep.
Anything that went wrong with me.
Hmm.
And I started thinking, what in the world? Because I wasn't working in my business while I was, taking care of my mother because I moved her in.
Right.
Well, again, the book thing came up because when I was at a negative zero in my bank account, I said, Lord, you have blessed us with everything we need to be successful. You have blessed us with the know how, you have blessed us with the gift. If the money is in me somewhere around this townhouse, show me. And I heard write a book. And I was like, my God, I need a job. I'm broke. And again, I kept meeting people. And this lady said, I know you have something written. And I said, I do. I have my PowerPoint for my workshop, but it's whose spark is it anyway? It's just something that she said is written and I need to see it. So I showed it to her and she said, that's your book. That was my first book. It was a bestseller. Sheila, I didn't even believe it was a bestseller. I thought the people was lying because I was like, how could I have written a bestseller? Because I didn't know, I didn't take a class to know how to write a book. I didn't go through any, because everything that happened with this business was really, um, I guess I would have to say a dream, but it wasn't my dream. It actually was God's purpose and plan for my life. So apparently, He had to take me all the way to zero, in order for me to have something to even pour into somebody else. Because if you haven't failed like 5 million times
Yeah.
and gotten up, I don't know what in the world you think you're going to tell somebody else.
Ex-
So it took me a while to really start piecing it together. And I'm still surprised every day by things that happen. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. I took out some pieces that may come back up in conversation, but pretty much that's how
Yes.
I started.
Wow. That's something that when we have these situations that show up in life, it's
Right.
almost like a redirection. It's
Hmm.
like, I don't know, God, source, universe, whatever you're calling it. It's like, nope, wrong way. Block, roadblock. Nope, wrong way. And all of a sudden you're guided to what's actually the purpose, your
Right.
purpose. And it's that surrender that we
Right.
have to learn through all those losses and difficult situations where and it's really hard when
It
we're leaders,
is.
parents, we have, you're caring for your parents and all this, and you're the leader and we have to surrender.
Right.
Wow, it's a tough one,
Right.
the
Hmm.
toughest. And so it takes us getting to our knees many times in order to realize, okay, I've just got to do what I'm supposed to do here.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what you're doing, what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do. And we all have, I always say, all of us have one shared assignment, and
Hmm.
that is to feed His sheep.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like to you, but that is feeding into another person's purpose to
Hmm.
help them find out what that is, And I always say that's a shared assignment that we all have. And then we have our individual assignments. And
Hmm.
once those are completed, you know, then we can we can leave. You
Yeah.
know, I see it like that.
My grandma lived to be 103, and she
Hmm.
used to tell me, she said, "Honey, I don't know why the good die young, but don't be too good and you'll be fine." So she had so much wisdom in that. But there is
That's
something
funny.
about, she would tell these silly jokes and have fun, businesswoman, and lived such a long life, went through the depression, the Spanish flu, all those things that we've learned about in history. She lived it, and she would tell me things like, this could happen again, do this, do that,
Right,
don't, I don't know, wash your hands. I don't know about going to those restaurants. You could catch them, because she went through that, and it was hard for
right.
me to understand. And I thought, well, we're kind of better than that now. We have
Hmm.
technology, and we know about germs, and we have science. And look, here we
Right.
are in the universal pause in this pandemic anyway. And I
Right.
was like, oh,
Hmm.
grandma was right.
Hmm.
Wow, she was right, and many times. So we learn, and it's such a gift to have that and those connections. Now,
Right.
for me, I was raised by grandparents mostly. My parents couldn't raise me. I lost my parents. They both passed away at a younger age, and
Hmm.
so that was a journey. And then it was such a gift to. I was homeless for a while, 10 to 13, then went to this foster care, and
Hmm.
a friend told me about it, and I was like, really? They're going to help me out, and I can go to school and not have to like provide for myself. And I got to meet all these incredible kids and hear their
Hmm.
stories. And it just brought so much compassion and
Right.
a difference in my life. And later I realized that was part of my training for my
Hmm.
purpose. That,
Right.
yes, that I, at the time I was like, why am I going through all this? But it was part of that. And I ended up adopting 3 children and
Wow.
having this beautiful program later on when I opened my gift stores, where over 200 kids, they would emancipate, or they were going through emancipation soon, and they would go through a
Hmm.
training program I created, and it was fully funded with the government. I had to show all the training, and the kids would get an opportunity that nobody would hire them, right? So they
Hmm.
would get this opportunity, and then they would get a letter from me and recommendations, and they would get the top jobs at all the big
Wow.
department stores from that. And that was, I was so blessed, because I ended
That's
up
awesome.
five gift stores that
Hmm.
that came from this. And it was because it was heart, it had heart for the community, and it was a difference. And so no matter what you're doing for work, there's that guided purpose, and if you stay with that heart-based purpose and giving back, you're
Hmm.
always provided for one way
Right.
or another. Sometimes it
Hmm.
shows up in weird ways, or yeah, sometimes we have to roll our sleeves up and do the work, but it
Hmm.
shows up.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. You're right. I'm so sorry about your loss of your parents.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that
You're
was
welcome.
all at once. And I know with you, you lost your mom, and what a
Mhm.
beautiful thing to be able to care for your mom during that time. And that was also my priority. Even though my family didn't raise me fully, I
Mhm.
took care of all my relatives, every
Right.
single one. I bought my mom a house. I took care of everyone. And that was
Wow.
just what I was guided to do. And
Mhm.
I have no reason. I'm not sad that I took that time off and did that.
Right.
It was
Mhm.
really what I needed to do. And it also showed my children, it's
Right.
this is how we take care of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
It is model behavior,
Hmm.
and it is a work. So service is tried and true because you're living it every day. You're
Yeah.
doing it. You're doing it in front of people, and you're failing at it in front of people, and then again you're succeeding at it all at the same time
Hmm.
and in front of people. So and it keeps you humble
Mm-hmm.
That's what failure does.
Yes.
So whenever I speak to kids, I always tell them, because I have always been and still am pretty hard on myself because I have an offering to someone. So I want to do it in excellence. Well, you tend to be a little more harder on yourself when that's your fate. But I try to tell kids to be easy and understand, just kind of move through the mistakes because you're going to make them. They're
Mm-hmm.
not intentional. They're not intentional at all, but you're going to make them because you don't know what to do all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
if there's no malice in your heart and you are right aligned, which is a phrase that I have been using here lately, it is just when everything is in order,
Mm-hmm.
your words, your deeds, your behavior, and it is in service to another person. If that's what you're doing and you fail at that, be humble because you got the chance to do it. And
Yeah.
anyway, and then you get the next day to do it better, or you get later on that day. The key is to be easy on yourself. If you're easier on yourself, then you have another chance to do it better.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
hard to
a pep talk that you kind of have to tell yourself.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I find that I had to really remind myself of that during this universal pause, during this crazy season. I lost my youngest son out of the six kids, the
Oh,
baby.
I'm sorry.
He had a heart condition, and they said they fixed it with this ablation, and didn't work out. But he passed away in his sleep, and very peacefully
Mm.
at his grandparents for the holidays. And so that I had to forgive myself a lot. I had to be like, it's okay. I put my book on hold. I spent
Okay.
time. All the kids came home. We could cry, laugh, talk all night, whatever we needed to do. And I just put everything on hold for a while. And it was
Hmm.
about 6 months before I got back to things. And it was really necessary. And I caught that mental chatter of, oh, you need to get up now and start moving forward. And what's wrong? Get out of this funk and, stop being depressed or down or, grieving. And then I was like, no, you know what? Today I got up out of bed and I did what I needed to do with my family, and that's okay.
Hmm.
And this show showed up, the book got to bestseller, everything happened in perfect time. I didn't even know, when I wrote this book, I didn't even know we were going to have this pandemic. And
Right.
it really
Right.
aligned for that purpose. And
Hmm.
so it's being patient with ourselves, the patience that we may have with another person, if we
Right.
could just give that to ourselves sometimes.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. You
makes a big.
know, taking care of my mother, I was probably like I had never done that before. Okay, and
Yeah.
my mother was my superhero. Like
Hmm.
seeing her sick was amazing because I've seen her. She had a double aneurysm and she came out of it, and nothing. She didn't have a stroke. Was nothing wrong with her. It was just kind of like she went into outpatient surgery. And she didn't have a lot of health issues, but she was just like a spitfire. She had so much energy and determination. So when she got sick and she was angry about it,
Yeah.
so watching that every day was hard too. And she got a little difficult because at the end she had early onset of dementia,
Hmm.
and that is a very difficult process to see. So I taught myself how to love her harder in a different direction.
Hmm.
So I had to teach myself not to focus on the anger because it's anger. It's not at me. I haven't done anything, but you tend to be a little sensitive when you're taking care of your loved ones. And when she passed away, Sheila, it took me like 6 years to
Yeah.
get to get above the sadness.
Yeah.
And I just kept saying, why do you keep waking me up? I have absolutely nothing to live for. My cheerleader is gone. She is the only person I knew who loved me completely, no matter what. She just loved me anyway.
Mm.
And you mean to tell me I got to go out in this world and try to find somebody that's gonna love me like her? I be doggone. I'm not gonna. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. I'm not, I'm not gonna do it. I so I just fought getting up. I just wanted to die every day.
Yeah.
And then I started writing this blog. It was just a blog for me. And just to kind of get me going, it was just like my little therapy for myself. I went to grief counseling, but it was still grief counseling does what it does, but not nearly enough,
Hmm.
because I did say it took me like 6 years to get past that. And
Right.
then I just started living in her memory.
Hmm.
Those good solid things that she instilled in me, I just kept that at the forefront and then rebuilt my business on that
Hmm.
and God's purpose. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Because and that's really all you can do is just keep putting one foot in front of the other. There's no magic to it. It's just the fact that you have to want to. And
Mm.
so when I didn't want to, I didn't. I didn't go to anybody's house. I went to one friend that invited me over for Thanksgiving. And then I wasn't jealous to see people with their mother. I just didn't want to do it,
Yeah.
so I didn't. And I think that's what we ought to do is be very honest with ourselves. If you don't want to do something,
Right.
don't do it. But
Hmm.
be honest about not wanting to do it. Don't drag people in a
Yes.
process where they're loving you, caring for you, and you're sitting there, you taking all that in, and all along knowing you don't want to do it, and they're doing all the heavy lifting. Well, they're
Hmm.
going to be pissed about it once
Right.
the rubber meets the road. And so you have done so many wrong things when you could have just been honest about the one and
Yeah.
saved everybody the heartache and time. So um, I probably went a little far with that, but
No,
but
it's very
that's
good.
true.
It is so true. There's something about when I had to learn how to be really honest. I had like
Yeah.
zero boundaries as this young kid. And then I got married. It was an arranged marriage later, early in life, and it was not aligned. Let's just put it that way. And I had zero boundary. I'd say yes to everything. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you need to do this, you need to do that, go to all the parent teacher things, do all the work. He didn't want, as soon as I started making money, he didn't want to work. Awesome. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
nice. And then I'd have to have this expectation of this perfect house.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't lift a
Mm-hmm.
finger. I was like, okay, awesome. But then I learned no. I learned
Oh,
no, and it was such a beautiful thing. And now all my friends understand that if I say no, I don't want to go to that dinner, or I don't want to go do this one thing, we can go do this, or things that we like to do together. Awesome. And then if not, that's okay too. But I'm just really honest, and they know
right.
that because I'm so honest, it attracted really healthy people into my life
Mm-hmm.
and really aligned relationships. And even the people that maybe not aligned with our hobbies or whatever, they know
Mm-hmm.
that when they ask me, they're gonna get the truth, kind of
Right.
like they're gonna get the whole truth. and
Right.
and that's it. And so they respect that and understand that if you ask me, I will tell you the truth, because it's really important that that it's
Right.
real, honest.
Right. Last night I was interviewed by a lady on this podcast, and while you were talking about that, it made me think about the question she asked me about why men ghost women.
Mm,
And so when you were just talking about being honest, it made me think about that. And I said, well, I can't really throw men under the bus because, early in my life, and probably I might do it again now. I mean, I don't know, but it's a possibility. But
right.
I have been known to ghost people. And what you're saying about being honest, a lot of times you're in a relationship with people. It could be friendship, it could be business relationships, it doesn't matter. And you have something that you know if you tell them, it would change the trajectory of how they do things in a more positive way.
Mm-hmm.
But you also know that they're the kind of person that you can't tell nothing. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're going to have a fallout. And I'm a person, I, even though I can stand behind anything I say, and I don't really want or need someone to be on my bandwagon, because if you're telling somebody something that's for their good and you don't have any malice in your heart, you don't need anybody on your bandwagon because you don't mean any harm.
Right.
Well, there are people in this world that don't really care about that. I mean, as you can see how sensitive everybody is about everything. You can't say the color black or the color white
Mm.
in department stores today. You
Yeah.
know, they think a riot is going to fall, come about. So when she said that, I said, it might be hard for a man to say to a woman, I like you very much, but you give me too much love. And they can't say, uh, well, on Monday you can give me 30%, and then
No.
on Friday you can give me all the love you want to give me because I'm off Saturday and Sunday. When you think about it like that, and you think about when you're dealing with people every day and things that you want to tell them, like to ease up off of you, or you might say, get off my back. And if you say that, they're wounded.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always thinking to myself, I mean, you don't know that you too close up on me. I mean, you
Right.
really need me to say that to you so I
Yeah.
can be the villain in this conversation. And you don't never know if you're being set up. So I'm thinking that might be a reason why a lot of men will go swimming, because they don't want the fallout, for one.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't tell somebody, hey, that's too much. I like you, but that's too.
Right.
Can you ease up a little bit?
Yeah.
Because then they're offended. Such as life, such as business, such as friendships or whatever. And you don't mean any harm. I don't think that we should have to preference everything,
Mm-hmm.
but you kind of feel like you do. Even I feel like that. And you tend not to deal with a lot of people because when you watch how they move around, you're like, man, I don't want any of that. I don't want to have to make life harder for myself. I'm 52. I kind of want to ease into my golden years. I don't want to have all this hysteria going on all the
Right.
time.
Yep.
So that question, the ghosting, because we ghost people in our business lives, too, like clients or whatever, because it may be a difficult client, because you can't say, um, well, lady, this is a whole lot that you're giving me right now, because because you're thinking they might give you a bad rating. I don't want to live like that in my life. If you got to give me a bad rating because too much is too much, I'll just take the bad rating. I don't want to, but if that's what I got to do, I don't want to have a heart attack because you're wearing me out, you know. And I think we need to think about who we are in those situations. If somebody is ghosting you, I think about why, you
Yeah.
know. But asking someone to see themselves is
No.
like asking them for $1 million,
Right. And
because you really want to say that. Look at you, look at yourself.
we can't see ourselves sometimes. I mean, that's why we go to therapy or a coach or a consultant and we say, my perspective is one way, and then they bring new perspective. And I mean, I remember a season I lost my house, my car, and my cat in the Ventura, California fires.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry. Wow.
friends, some friends that, I mean, even friends that I would give extra work, hire, do all these things, they didn't even say, "Are you okay?" Whatever. And I said, "Okay, you know what? I'll keep my money and pay people. If you're going to pretend to be my friend too, and I'm helping you so much, and you can't reciprocate at a time like this, it's all good. Nothing personal. Goodbye. And that's just the way sometimes you realize, oh, okay, they were kind of getting a lot of benefits from being my friend, but I wasn't getting any benefits. So it wasn't reciprocal. And sometimes
Right.
it's just there's a season and the
Mhm.
season ends, or you realize, wait a minute, like for dating and guys, when I finally got divorced, finally, it was like I was attracting the same guy in a different, maybe, a little nicer looking or younger, whatever,
Mhm.
but same
Mhm.
guy. And I was like, wait a minute. And then they start playing games, and I was like, I don't play games.
Mhm.
Goodbye. I do not do that. I don't have time for that right now. And
Right.
so,
Right.
and that's how, and then you start learning. I finally learned, okay, I attract and am attracted to healthy people now as I got healthier. As I
Right.
was healing, the healthier people showed up in my life. Wonderful, incredible people. And so I had to heal myself. I couldn't blame anybody else. I had to take full responsibility. And the moment I stopped the blame on the ex or the blame on somebody's not aligned, I got to own. It's like I took all my power back.
Right.
They're no longer in charge.
Right.
So
Right.
it made a big difference.
Right. I think, what you said about saying no, I think I came out of the womb saying no. I have always known as a kid that no was very powerful, when you say it. So I have a hard time saying yes. So I practice it. Sometimes I'll just say, okay, I said no like 5 times to different people. So now I'm gonna say yes to the next thing. The next thing that comes up, I'm just gonna say yes. I'll say that to myself. Like I'm always running a whole lot of different experiments with myself
Yeah,
because that's how you don't let things get funky. You know what I mean? If you are, I don't do this work just for other people. It helps me too.
right.
I'm constantly checking myself and making sure that, I am right aligned. And I will say, I'm as right as you will allow me to be in a lot of situations. Because if somebody is ridiculous, I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not going to get ridiculous with them, but I'm not going to take it because I don't think we're built to take it.
Right.
If you're a little too close for comfort, I think it is my right to say that. I
Hmm.
think it is another person's right to say whatever it is that they need to say. And I need to give them space, just like they should give me space and understanding. But 9 times out of 10, you don't get what you give. And
Yeah.
you kind of have to know that, going in.
Yeah.
So, I'm in camp right now. So I have like an 8-week camp going on.
Okay.
And so last week just wrapped up the art of communication with a group of 11 to 14-year-olds. So you can imagine
Wow.
how that was. Those kids really were amazing. And I
Mhm.
kept thinking, my God, I wish grown people were like this, because they really got it, the communicating with care and what careless communication is. Careless communication usually begets careless communication, you see.
Mhm.
But in as an adult, if you're having an exchange, the expectation is that you don't talk to me the way I talk to you. You let me talk to you how I want to. That's
Right.
not going to fly anywhere. And
Right.
so when kids are watching this play out with adults, and they take it on, it looks a whole
Mhm.
lot different. It's knives and guns.
Oh yeah.
Kids take it up a notch. So you really have to model that behavior. It's really important to model that behavior, that decent behavior. Because when you listen to these kids and the things that aggravate them, it's really small things. It
Mhm.
really is. And you don't think that. You think that kids are usually just playing around and joking. No, they're very serious about things.
Right.
and they take a lot of things to heart, which
Mm-hmm.
is, and I think is dismissed a lot of times, with adults dealing with children if they're at school or whatever.
Right.
You just kind of handle a kid however you want to handle them. No, they have rights too, and they get upset, and they get a lot madder faster than we do.
Mm. And then 5 minutes later, they'll hug you. Or
Right,
or they'll hug each other and they'll be like, "Yeah, let's go play now." And it's over. They don't hold it with them because they're very open and honest about it. So they don't have to
right.
like hold it. They don't hold a grudge. It's like over. That was yesterday or an hour ago, 10 minutes ago. And so they have that freedom, and somehow we lose it with all the rules, the rules of society. It's like, okay, what? So that's something they know how to forgive
Right.
a lot easier.
They
Yeah.
do. And how are you very structured and very strict with your
With
children?
no, I
No.
I don't I don't, it was really interesting because there's three that were adopted and three from birth, but they're all very unique and
Hmm.
incredible and different. Some needed a certain type of schooling, others needed
Hmm.
a different type. So
Right.
we had some in Montessori, some in Waldorf, some in the private school that was just everybody, and
Hmm.
everybody loved whatever they loved. So I tended to go toward whatever their talent was. My
That's
daughter
good.
would bring children home that were having issues, whether she
Hmm.
met them at church or at school. This one's cutting, this one's this one's that, and we would do interventions. She's studying to
Hmm.
be a psychologist now, and
Awesome.
already working as a counselor with this girl's home with pregnant young teens, and she's the counselor, and she looks younger than
Awesome.
some of them, so she loves that. The boys, they're all different. So some are in the service, and some are into mechanical engineering. Others are into chess. I have one that plays chess, and he networked the Staples Center when it first opened. He was 11 as an
Wow.
apprentice. So I let them go do that. We had to be to a certain level strict in the sense that there were chores that everybody had to help with because
Yeah.
there's 6 kids and I'm working and
Hmm.
I needed help, and we had to stay on a schedule because there was no way I could. I mean, sometimes I forgot somebody. And I, there's so many, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I had to, coordinate everything. And it just, there was a lot of form and a lot of freedom to be who you are, to celebrate your
Right.
best self instead of looking at what you didn't do right. Let's look at
Hmm.
all the things you can do. And that made a big difference for all of them.
Now, so that part, the last part, I really like that, to look at what you did do, what you did right. Do you practice the same behavior when you're dealing with a colleague or adults? Are you the same way?
I think I am,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, because I had these gift stores, and I started at 24, and it was because I was so young. Everybody
Hmm.
that worked for me, other than my kids that came through, they were like twice my age.
Okay.
And so I was like, everybody gets to contribute. It was more like a group, and we would find talent. Like some of the kids would come in and they were really good at designing or figuring out the music to play, or working with the clients or whatever they were good at. That's what
Hmm.
I did there too. And it just made it easier because it was like a I still know these kids even though I closed the stores, and moved on to other things. I
Hmm.
still know all these young adults now. Now they're adults and have their own businesses and their own families and this and that. And we're still connected because we treated it like a second home, like a big family. So that made a big difference.
Yeah.
And it was really my second family. So so
Right.
that was it. And it was easier to let everybody just share their talents.
Right. Right. That's good, and that's good to hear. I think if you practice the same behavior across the line, across the board, it makes engagement a lot easier. You're not trying something over here. And well, that worked when I was dealing with, I mean, I think if you keep it simple
Hmm.
and you treat people with decency,
Yes.
respect, you know, and find something good in
Right.
most people. I mean, I can't say, I believe that there's good in everybody. I haven't seen everybody. That's just what I believe. You see
Yes.
what I mean?
Right.
Um, and even if you can't, you encounter somebody, and maybe you haven't had enough time with them to see the good.
Hmm.
Well, draw from the good that's in you
Right.
and then give them a little grace. That's kind of how that has to work.
Yes. Yes. I know that one of the things that I did with the training at the stores was pretty cool. I would take them on a field trip and we would go to the
Hmm.
mall. It was like the Americana, the Glendale Galleria in California. And we would go and I would say, "Okay, now go buy," and I'd give them money to go buy something. And what was your experience like? How did the clerk treat you?
Hmm.
What was, how was the product handed to you in the bag, or did they just kind of throw it down, or did they hand it to you, and we go to the Nordstroms or something and you would see the difference. And
Right.
I said the rule is, there I had two main rules. One, if you don't feel like coming to work today, flex time, that's fine, because people will feel the energy. If you don't want to be there, they're not going to buy from you, because they're going to feel that you have something else. You're not even there. You're already out somewhere else. So don't come in. It's okay. And the other rule was, everybody that walks in the store, even if they never buy anything, you treat them like royalty. They walk in and you treat them like royalty. And that was the rule. And so we would have people that would come in and they just wanted to talk to the kids or the
Hmm.
adults, and they were lonely, and then they would buy for the holidays. They might not buy all year. Every week they'd come in and then they'd buy everything. And
Hmm.
so that was the rule, and it made a big difference, and it was something I had to point out.
Right. I like
How do
it.
you feel? How do you feel? How are you being treated when you go to the store? Because you're younger, because you're this or that. How did that feel? Oh, wait, they're
Hmm.
playing music that didn't align with the products in the store. That kind of felt weird, so we
Hmm.
had all that, and it
Hmm.
was easy because it taught more than if I wrote it in a procedures manual.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah. It
And
was.
it's interesting you have that rule that kind of matches my etiquette rule. It's the three E's.
Mhm.
Everyone in every situation gets exactly the same respect and consideration.
Yeah.
And so whenever I'm doing customer service training, I always say, if you just think like that,
Mhm.
you can never have a bad interaction. Everyone in every situation gets exactly the same respect and consideration. It's the
Yeah.
three E's of etiquette, and
Beautiful.
it keeps it very simple. It matches what you say, what you told them, and don't you find having less rules works a lot better? Because even in camp, I tell the kids, I don't have a lot of rules. I don't have expectations of you. I only have expectations of myself. But this is how this week is going to go. And then I just lay it out. I have so far, I've been doing this camp at the university, and I have not had any problems with any kids.
Nice.
And it just keeps it simple. And
Right.
especially if you're behaving, if you're doing what you want. So that kind of is, you have to be what you want in order, for people to know how to do. I don't think that kids are easier that way. I think that if you are something to follow, they will follow your direction. And
Mm.
if you're consistent about it, they will do it. Now, I don't have children, but I used to be one, and that worked for me. My mother was what she wanted. She wanted me to be well behaved, and I saw her be well behaved until she wasn't. I got a whooping every day when I was a kid. So that was a little misbehaving on her part.
Okay.
Yeah, she could have gave me a pass a lot of those times, but she didn't. So
Oh, grandma had the slipper. She would take the shoe off and she would like hit me with it, and and it was just the way it was, and she was very hard on me.
yeah.
You know, stand
So my
straight.
mother was
Da, da, da. Yeah,
she
yeah.
was she was fun, but she was serious about and firm
Hmm.
about what she wanted in her house, her rules, and they weren't many, but I was going to follow all of them. So
Yeah,
that's how it worked. And I was a creative child. You know, I was the great negotiator. I was always, and I wanted to plead my case. You know, I always had something to say. So, I mean, there were reasons why I got a whooping every day, you know,
yeah.
but still she could have gave me a pass. I'm an only child, you know. Yeah.
Yes. That's the beauty of it. The gift of being able to then you grow up and you're this incredible person helping all these children, and then able to care for your mom. And I know my grandmother got dementia at the last stages as well, early onset.
Oh,
And
okay. So you know. Yeah.
that, yes. In fact, in my book, I have an entire chapter on parenting, parenting
Hmm.
children, young adults, and then I have another chapter that goes into parenting our parents' elder care, because I
Okay.
had to do that for all my grandparents and my parents. I took care of everybody, and at a young age. And so it was something that usually you don't have to deal with until an older time in your life. And so
Right.
I had everybody comes to me for advice, and I was like, I'm putting that in here. And then there's a
Hmm.
chapter on grief, feel your feelings, and that whole
Right.
thing. And
I
so
like
it's
that. Feel your
about,
feelings.
yeah,
I like it.
I really believe that those feelings, we have to honor it. It's very sacred for each of us. It's different. But when we honor those feelings, it keeps us healthy. If
Hmm.
we hold it all in, the pain shows up in an illness or something not right in the body. We start to have pain in our body because we
Hmm.
held it in. So to
Hmm.
let it out is the healthiest thing to do mentally and physically.
Right.
Yeah, I really believe
So
that.
that is very, I like that. Feel your feelings because when I lost my mother, my thing was I'm just gonna feel it until I don't feel it anymore. You know, I'm gonna feel all the pain, all the sadness, and um, because first of all, it keeps you human. I'm not a robot, you know, and I tell people I'm just a well-behaved person. I have the tools to be
Right.
better behaved. I should. I mean, it's been a lot of training at this, and it's and I've been doing it a real long time. So I ought to be well behaved. But I am human and I have those moments where things get to me too. And I did say I'm an only child. So, you know, there's a little emotion in there. You know, it's not too much. I can manage it. But at the same time, I want people to know that I'm human. And I get mad too. You know, yes, I have all these tools, but sometimes they go out the window, you know,
Right.
because we're human and you have to feel it. It's not like you don't feel anger, you feel it. I just don't get to project anger onto anybody. I don't get to grab somebody and throw them down on the ground. You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
now
know why that's
those things.
hilarious to me, but
We can't do those things anymore that we could do when we were kids.
right, right. So, but you feel it, and it's your right to feel it, and you don't have to be dismissive about it, and no one else should be dismissive about it. You
Mhm.
just make, I think you make room for people.
Yeah.
And we don't think to do that.
Mhm.
Well, if you know someone and you know their makeup and you like them, but see that's the other thing. If you like them, you can make room for them.
Right.
If you're not sure you like them, you still have to make room, but you got to pray yourself through it. You know,
Mm.
I know I need, I know I need to do this. Give me some strength. You know, just I mean, be honest about it and be real about it. We're not going to like everybody, but it doesn't mean that you can't treat them with decency. You know.
Mhm. Yes, I totally agree. Now, could you share the titles of your book and maybe your favorite chapter or topic in each one?
So, whose spark is it anyway? Is a dining etiquette guide, and
Hmm.
that's what it is. It's on everything at the table and what happens around the table.
Nice.
So I don't really. I'm the author that is not really fond of like chapter one, chapter two, chapter three. Like I don't have. Neither one of my books are like that. So I would say in whose spark is it anyway? It's the story that I told at the beginning because initially when I submitted the manuscript, the lady said it read like a manual. So she said, I need for you to put a story in it. And I told you, like, I didn't go to school to write books or whatever. I did not know that that was a gift that I had, writing. So I said, I don't know how to write this story. I went to bed. I woke up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and I just started writing the story. So
Mm,
that is my favorite part of that because possibly because I know how it was born, you know.
right.
And then for Straight Up from the Teacup, so each chapter is named after tea. And there's a part in the book where I talk about the residue.
Mm,
The residue is um, what's left over from whatever that is not so great that's going on, or if you're dealing with someone. And let's say you've had a altercation with somebody, or you had just a bad engagement with them, and they're still dealing with you from that residue
uh-huh.
from that disagreement. That's one of my favorite things in the book. And then I have some quotes that I put throughout the book. And it's kind of my favorite. Straight Up from the Teacup was like my coming of age, coming out book
Mm,
because I got to share some real stuff and be kind of it's funny, it's kind of cheeky, you know, and it's clever because each chapter has a
mm,
T, a name of a T, and then how the chapters are laid out supports whatever that T is.
right.
So I really like that whole book because it's kind of a real talking kind of exchange, you know, but it's just me sharing. And
Right.
then the last chapter, I talk about a real situation that happened during the publication of the book. And I actually put the text that I
Mhm.
received in the book. I had
Wow.
to ask the I had to ask the editor if it was okay for me to put it in. And she was like, I think it would work. So I'm now working on the next book, uh, and it's called Naked is the name of it, and I have some really interesting chapters. It was actually one of the chapters I thought was going to be the title of the book, and I
Mhm.
decided whatever those chapters that I had in mind, whatever those titles were that I thought would be the name of the book, I'm just going to make them chapters
Nice.
instead of doing the whole chapter one, chapter two thing.
Right. I love
Yeah.
that. That's
Thank
great.
you.
So
Thank
you
you.
you are a writer that
I didn't
it
know. Who
just
knew?
happened.
Who knew? And probably because my mother used to make me do book reports. Like
Mhm.
in the summer, like
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to have to go to the library and get however many books she said, read
Mm,
them, write the book report, and talk it out with
nice.
her. Yeah.
Wow.
I guess she, you know, and my mother was not, she was not a teacher or whatever. I guess she knew what to do to keep a kid busy.
Yes.
Who knew that that was what I was going to be doing? So I do write for a parenting magazine, Kiddopedia,
Mhm.
and just recently signed to write for here in Houston, Austin County Insider
Nice.
magazine. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. So
and showing.
I guess I am a professional writer now. Well, look
Yes,
at that.
I love it. That's great. Wow.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right. And we are coming to the end of our talking time. So I'd love for you to share where people can get your books or sign up for some of your camps and programs.
So, actually, they can go for the camp, they can sign up at U of H Clear Lake. Um, .edu. It's you
Mhm.
can just put it in the search engine though, and it will come up, and then they can go and look for the camp. It's Kids U University, KIDS U University, Kids University, and
Nice.
that's what the camp is called. And so for the books, they can be found on. So both books can be found on Amazon. But the Whose Spark Is It Anyway was a relaunch with Ex Libris, and that is the book to get because initially I self published the book. That is a tough process.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so, but Ex Libris and they both can be found on Amazon. And Straight Up from the Teacup is actually here in Barnes and Noble, but it's also on the website. And Whose Spark Is It Anyway can be found on Barnes and Noble too. And I noticed you can find them on some other places. I'm not familiar with them, but everybody knows Amazon and everybody knows Barnes and Noble.
Yes, definitely. All right. Well, thank you, Toni, for being a special guest on the show. And for those tuning
Thank you
in,
for having me.
we'll be back after these messages. All right. Stay tuned.